that. I was a bit of a yellow and scream at different times, but now I try not to. I do lose it every now and again, but I try not to do that. Players don't make mistakes deliberately, and they've got to learn that everyone makes a mistake. Everyone stuffs up, you know. And but you know what you try to do is eliminate that, and you try to talk to them and say, you know, hey, if it happens too many times, then I'm going to chip at the backside. But by and large, you know, you've got to educate them as to why they're making bad decisions or why things are. The last thing there is respect, trust, and loyalty. I think that's very, very important. Loyalty and with the club, with the players, is very, very important. They have to respect you and trust you. It's difficult being a coach because in a sense you're in a no man's land. You're halfway between the players and you're halfway between the administration. The administration expects you to carry out their policies and their job, but the players also expect you to defend them at all times and to do your best for them. And I think that's very, very important. I put down there number 10 on the bottom of that, and I really believe this one, on the bottom of that page. They want to know that you care more than they care what you know. You played for Australia, big deal. You won 10 premierships with St George as a player, coach, big deal. That's the first time you walk in, they say, wow. But after a couple of weeks, they don't care less about that. What they care, they don't care what you've done or what you know or how knowledgeable you are or how many championships you've won. Or what they want to know is that you care about them. And that's the important thing. And believe me, if you take away that one thing from today, then you can create a whole culture about caring about. Now it sounds a bit sociological, but it is. It's very important. They have to care about each other and and you've got to care about them. I wonder how many of you checked. I know it's off season, so it's a tough one. How many of you checked that all of your players had somewhere to go for Christmas? I wonder how many of you did that. No? Now, maybe you had some kids down from the bush, you know. Now, I checked it out, pretty well knowing, but I checked out most of them pretty well looked after anyway. But there was one of our American black kids, I said, well, so I checked it out. But I'd already prompted the players to say, I said, just check that Mike's got somewhere to go for Christmas, whatever. But I also asked him, and he said, no, I'm going for the team captain, we're going to have Christmas with his family. Now, the thing was that he could not stop thanking me enough for the next week or two. The fact that I said, you come down to my place, you come and have Christmas with us. You're not sitting in a hotel having Christmas by yourself. I've gone, right. You know, and I honestly say that our relationship has grown enormously since that one thing. And that's what I'm saying about that you have to, as a coach, your job is to care about them. And you have to know about their families, about their children. You've got to know the names of their kids. You've got to know when their kids' birthdays are. You might think this is crap, but you do. Vince Lombardi did. I know you might have 36 guys in the club, but that situation, the fact that you ask about them, ask about the kid or whatever. You know, we had a game the other night, and halfway through the game, one of the guys' kids was taken off to hospital. He wasn't told until after the game. The first thing he did, you know, was he just didn't even have a shower. Just put on his street clothes and bang, you know. And it turned out, you know, she's okay. She's been a couple of days in hospital. But the first thing I did after I found out was SMS him and ring him and just say, you know, if you've got anything, you need anything, let me know straight away. And I think half the team did the same thing. Now, you know, he was, you know, Tommy got back to me the next day, or we actually had a day off training the next day and so forth, that Tommy got back, but again, I'm sure he thanked me for the fact that I was thinking of him. You know, we just had one guy up to the tribunal, you know, for fighting. So, you know, and he was guilty of sin. But he rang me again and again every day and thanked me for it. And I said to him, mate, that's what I've got to do. You're part of the team. And even if you're guilty, that's what I have to do. Because you're part of this group, you're part of the team. I've got to go in and defend you, even if you're guilty. You know, and that's very important to players. So they want to know that you care, and I think that's very, very important. But you also care about them in the future, what they're going to do when they finish playing football, what they do with their money. You know, and I know a lot of you do that. You put them through. Sometimes you just do it as a token, putting them through education courses or getting something else or going here or going there. You know, and they're always having blues with their missus or they're having blues with their girlfriend. Again, you don't have to be interfering. You don't have to be a father figure to them. in that sense, but you've got to understand what they're going through. You know, because sometimes you can blow up and you get ripped into players and you find out something is really going on here. And the other thing, as I said, if their wives aren't happy and their girlfriend's unhappy, often you've got an unhappy player. And we talk a lot about walking across the line, and once we walk across that practice line of the footy field, you know, then everything else has got to be put out of your mind. I'm in a situation right now where our club's going broke, and the odds are it's going to go under. So I got 10 players who are basically within 3 weeks of being unemployed. So it's very, very important at this time that I do everything I can to show them I understand what that situation is. It doesn't matter to me about being unemployed. I came out of retirement to do this anyway, and I'm happy to go back and play golf. That's what I will do anyway. But they know they're going to have to fold. They're going to go and live in Melbourne, and they bought houses in Newcastle. They invested there, so they're going through a terrific time. And yet they're supposed to be winning basketball games on the weekend. So you know, in one way, I'm trying to funnel that focus back to this and saying, well, once we come to practice, once we get on the court, once we get on that, we've got to put all that other crap out of our minds. What's going on around the club, the peripheral opponents, you've got to get rid of them. And that's also part of your job as a coach and as a club official, is to deflect things that are coming their way. And that's part of the culture you build, that respect. All right, so we've gone through that part of it. We've got another document there, and I'll whip through it again pretty quickly. It's developing a winning team and club culture. I'm not going to go through all those points there, but there's about 20 points there on that first page, and that's the result of 40 years of work, right there. But they're things that I sort of say, they're characteristics of a team. You know, they have a direction, they have a belief, they have a core covenant, they're proactive, they take control of their environment. That's what I'm trying to do right now, getting into that stuff. It's value driven. I want to just emphasise that. When I was working I was been CEO of a couple of companies and worked with Kerry Stokes, one of his senior executives with his empire. And the thing that he taught me very much, the word go, was, he said, Adrian, don't go out and try and make money. Because if you try and make money, you'll lose it. Because we bought a building in Dallas, and we paid way too much for it, and the building market collapsed, and eventually we found Japanese people to sell it to them. We nearly lost our pants. But that wasn't a good decision. It was a greedy decision. You know, and we said, don't do that again. Everything has to be value driven. In other words, what we used to do was take over companies which were going to be good companies, and we thought, well, they were bad at the time, and we'd say, well, we can make this a good company. We can set values. And part of my job always was to go in and try and re-establish the values in the company. Try to understand, get people to be, well, everyone in the whole place to be part of it. In one company I had 800 employees. Now, part of what I had to do was to get the apprentices down at the bottom, to the guys at the top, to all be thinking about the one thing, the culture that I'm talking about being proud of the fact that we are the biggest bulldozer company in Australia, one of the biggest in the world, putting together the Caterpillar, the big D9s and all of those sorts of things, that equipment. So the thing that I had to do was get out and go down and walk around with the apprentices. Walk around with them, watch them work, ask them about their jobs, what they think. When I first went to the company and was involved with it, I wanted to find out how the company was working. So I didn't go and ask the boss, I didn't go and ask the managers. First thing I started off with the girls behind the desk, with the reception. I said, yeah, but you like your job? And no, they're pretty honest. And they say, no, I hate it here. They'll soon tell you that people are rude, people don't talk to each other, whatever. Soon straight away, you can pick up the environment. That's the culture of the organisation. And so you have to rebuild that. The fact that you're asking their opinion is important. And that's the same with your players. What I used to try and do was once a week, I'd get out and walk around and go and see everybody I could and get everyone involved, as many people to make decisions. And the first 3 months, all I got was complaints. You know, but then we kept working on that situation about how we were going to keep this company going through good times and bad times. We had 100 apprentices, just 90 odd. Now, and we had and there was a real downturn in the industry. So we talked about that, and all the other companies were putting off 20 to 25% of their staff. Now we said, we can do that too. But what happens when things turn? What happens when, and we didn't know like what's happened in the industry in China and so forth, we were looking in Vietnam and Ghana and places like that. So what happens when it turns? The other companies were going to be madly going out, scrambling out.